Okay, we are live. Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome back to the Muslim Morning Podcast. We're back with our Sheikh Muhammad Taka. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you, brother? Thank you for having
Ha-
me here.
Anytime, it's a pleasure, mashallah. Okay, so last week we spoke about um, two categories of people. The person who, the scenario, he's in Amazon jungle, message doesn't come to him. How will he be judged by Allah? And also we spoke about the person that a message comes to him and he rejects the message. We spoke about how Allah will judge this individual. Now let's
hmm
come to the third category of people. The message comes to them. They accept the message.
hmm
Now, do we have, or does this person have the kind of scenario? Well, okay, I'm saved now, and that's the end of the story. Or is there a taken account which kind of puts him into a even more serious situation? Like, okay, it's not the end of the road now. It's not like I can relax now and say I believe and I'm in paradise. What is the
hmm
seriousness of the taking account, even for the person who accepts the message of Islam?
Yeah, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulih al-Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. So, yeah, uh, one of the unique features about Islam is I would say that Islam is real and it demonstrates reality at all stages, at all points uh, of its doctrine and practice. Meaning that it's not just a set of beliefs. It's yeah, I believe, and because I believe, that I get this amazing reward of paradise. Or I believe, and because I believe, that's enough. I can just do whatever I want to do on planet Earth without any guidance or direction. Well, actually, just saying you believe has with it, or is you can almost say it's the beginning of the journey. It's just the beginning of one's journey. Once you say you believe, then there's obviously a test. Is what you say actually true? Not that Allah is unaware of what's inside your heart, but so that you are aware of what's inside your heart through your actions. So that when Allah's judgment does come to you, you can't say but if only if. Actually, you did, and this is the result of what you did. So it's part of the demonstration of Allah's absolute justice to mankind, that He gives us a chance to play out how we are, and gives us plenty of opportunity to either better ourselves, or if you don't want to, don't. So once you person accept Islam, it's upon them to act in accordance to the teachings and remits of Al-Islam. The teachings and the remits of Al-Islam. So it's not for us to have this belief whereby, oh, just because um, I'm Muslim, I'm guaranteed paradise, or just because I was born into a Muslim family, I'm guaranteed paradise. Like Allah mentions that Bani Israel said that, oh, don't worry, the hellfire won't touch us for a few days, because they believe that just because they are who they are and born into what they're born, whatever happens happens. But at the end of the day, they are guaranteed whatever they're guaranteed.
Mm.
So
But is there a mindset like I'm saved? I'm in paradise. It's all done. Um, can a Muslim have, I wouldn't say arrogance, but like look down on other people, or I'm from the saved group, or is there a different mindset for someone who knows, well, now the he's conscious that the angels are writing now. He's conscious of this fact. How does that change the,
the
the,
thing
the
is
Muslim
that
mindset? You could say.
so the thing is there's Muslims are between fear and hope,
Mm,
and hope of Allah's reward and fear of His punishment, and this is the balance that we tread. And in that hope, we hope for a higher station, a great reward in paradise. So we're hoping for higher and higher and higher and higher levels in paradise. We're
mhm,
also fearing lower and lower and lower and lower and lower levels in hellfire. So we constantly have to try and, you could say, work hard to
mm,
take us up the ladder and not down the ladder, if that makes sense.
mm,
And actions have an impact on our internals to the degree whereby not only can you end up going lower and lower and lower in paradise, you can actually get to the stage where you now are destined for hellfire, even if it's for a certain period of time, like for certain punishment for what you're doing. And it could go to a level whereby actually you become mukhalid now, you remain in hellfire forever. Because sins can lead to kufr. And this is what people need to understand, that this belief is not just I don't believe. It's just kind of counterintuitive. You just called it disbelief, but you can believe but be kafir. How does that make sense? I mean, Iblis, it doesn't deny Allah's existence.
Yes. Okay, that's a good point. So you're saying that just accepting God exists is not enough to be saved.
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
So
It's
this
not.
is for any.
And the joke is,
yeah, go on.
go on. No, go on.
No, I'm saying that this is for, I'll say, any believer, that God requires from us more than just lip service, more than just, yeah, I believe in God, and then I'm going to get on with whatever I want to do. There has to be a conscious, how can you say, conscious actions, implementation of what Allah wants from us. It's not just a lip service. It's not just in the heart kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically, well, the best way I'd phrase it is that to get the certain outcome, as in paradise, that outcome requires a certain level of action and dedication and conviction and whatnot. And if that is lacking, then one will find themselves in hellfire, because the hellfire for those who lack that which is required to get to paradise. And also, the more sin you do, the lower you go into hellfire. Now, the thing is, some people might think, when you put it that way, you start thinking to yourself, but wait, is it only good and bad we have? As in, if I'm sat here doing nothing, is that bad? It's not bad. It's not good either. It's neither. It's a nothingness, and that's also something people need to recognize, is that nothingness. You have to look at how you need to frame it right. What is okay? I'm doing good. I'm a good Muslim. Great. I'm doing bad. I'm a bad Muslim. Great. That's one point. But how about those who say I'm not a bad person? So they don't claim that they're doing anything wrong. Yeah, they might not do the Hajj and the Umrah and other stuff, but I'm also not doing murder and theft and all the other madness. I'm not doing those other sins. So what's the problem? Well, this is the issue of lost opportunity cost. So you've had the opportunity to gain something and you didn't. So it's like anything, really. Imagine you go to work and you're only paid commission. It's a commission only work. So the boss says to you, he's a recruitment, and he says to you, look, get in clients, get the contracts. Every contract you get, I'll pay you. So you go to work every day and you play on your phone. You're on WhatsApp, you're on Telegram, you're on Facebook, you're on TikTok, you're watching YouTube, you're doing everything else but your work. So you haven't actually cast off the boss, you haven't actually, destroyed the name of the company. We also have not done anything either. So you've done nothingness. So the job at the end of the week, when you've got nothing to show at all for your actions, you say to your boss, why is my paycheck zero? Because you did nothing. You had the opportunity to do something and you did absolutely nothing. So that's another outcome for someone, is that someone may spend majority of life thinking and perceiving they're not doing any wrong,
Yes,
but they're also not doing any right, and that not rightness adds up, or that lost opportunity cost is a thing. Also, you have to remember that it's that as much again, as much as you're not doing major sins all the time, there are some things people do sin, because that's what human beings do. We're khatta, we're sinful. But anyway, so the what is
but at the
but back
same
to the
time,
point.
it's not 1 second, it's not sorry, it's not possible not to do nothing,
Yes,
because you have obligations. You have the salah, for
yes,
example.
exactly. Yes.
Allah has
Which
made
is
it.
what I
Yeah,
was going to come
so
to.
yeah, fadl Sheikh, fadl.
Yeah, so that was the so that is there are actions which are black and white, meaning that it's either a fulfilling of an obligation or you get in a sin, like salah and zakah. That does exist. What I'm saying is that how about like the companion? That's a good example. There's a companion who came to the Messenger of Allah, and he specifically asked, if I did nothing at all besides only the obligations, is that enough? Just pray the salah, no sunnah. Just did the Ramadan, not other fast. I did nothing other than what I was obligated to do. And Messenger of Allah said, "You be successful if that's what you did. If that's what you did, you'll be successful. Meaning that you'll get your foot in the door. But remember, you get your foot in the door as the bare minimum. And remember, we want to get higher and higher. We don't. And the thing is, if you're at the bare minimum, that means you're at risk. Which is why Muslims always try to do more. Why are you at risk? Because maybe you might do a sin. Because you're a human being. And if you just did the bare minimum, that means now you're below the threshold now. You may have to spend a while in hellfire to atone for that sin. So therefore, we have to always counterbalance. Even the Messenger of Allah said, if you do a sin, follow up with a good deed or wipe it out. Tamhuha. Follow up with a bad deed with a good deed, so that the good deed will wipe out the bad. As we are constantly in this battle with our own selves, really, to outdo our own failings. We are human beings, are failures, as in we constantly do sin. Even Allah said in Hadith Qudsi, إنكم تخطئون بالليل والنهار وأنا أغفر الذنوب جميعا. Verily, you make mistakes day and night, and I forgive all sins. فاستغفروا لي أغفر لكم. So seek forgiveness of me, and I'll forgive you. But the point here in that portion of the Hadith Qudsi is that Allah said, you do sins day and night. And He said, Ya ibadi, O my servants. So this is everyone does sins day and night. Maybe you might glance at something you shouldn't be glancing at longer than you should be looking at it. Maybe you said something to your friend in jest that was backbiting, and you didn't necessarily. There's so many things we do all the time that to think that you do no good or no bad, is ridiculous. What they mean is I don't do any major bad in their minds and even then I can contest, because sometimes a major sin could be a kalima. It could be one word.
Yes.
That you said because you want to make a joke, or you want to, and even Mr. said that this tongue, you can say one word would throw a person to hellfire. So yeah, there's a constant battle between the good and the bad. And I guess this is a good segue into talking about how our good deeds are actually recorded in the first place.
Yes, excellent. I was just going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the hadith, it mentions that when a person intends to do a good deed, and they actually fulfill that good deed, Allah will write down, or the angels will write down that is a good deed, multiply it by 10 times, by 700 times, by many, many more. So not only are your good deeds, when you intend to do them and you actually do them, are written down, they're also multiplied. But if you intend to do a good deed, but you don't fulfill on it, so you wanted to give on charity, but you just never did it. You wanted to help someone across the road, but for some reason you didn't do it. You wanted to do a good deed, but for whatever reason it didn't manifest. You will still get written down one good deed. But if a person intends to do a bad deed, and they fulfilled that bad deed, then they get written down one bad deed, or that deed once. So it's not multiplied. And if a person intends to do a bad deed, and they choose, for Allah's sake, to leave that bad deed and not do it, not fulfill it, so they intend to go to someone's house and knock off their door and cuss them off, but they decided, you know what, I'll leave it. I'll leave them and suffice. Then that be written down as one good deed. So we can always see that from Allah's mercy and blessings, the scales are rigged to the positive.
So on that point, as you said, mashallah, the scales are rigged for the positive, meaning a sinner should not despair. There's no room for, because people say, "Oh, I'm too sinful." People might even say, let me give up all my bad vices before I become Muslim. I'm too sinful to become a Muslim. I need to become perfect before I accept Islam. How should we look on sins as being something which is, you have a mountains of sins on your shoulders? How should you look on that aspect? How should someone view his own sins, kind of thing?
The best way I look at it, and I try to tell people this all the time, is that if you feel that it's even possible to protect yourself from sin, then you've deceived yourself in the first place. You can't. Not on your
Okay.
own anyway. Not on your own anyway. I mean, you can ask Allah for protection, and Allah grants you that for however period of time of whatever action you could do so. But you're not free from sin, meaning that someone could. I've heard people say, "Oh, I can never do that sin," or "I can never be a murderer," "I can never be a thief," "I can never, never, never."
Mm.
And that is a deception, because that's kind of telling yourself that somehow, some way, there are physical limitations in your being that means you can't do sin, or that particular sin. And that is ridiculous. It's not true. Every single person has the capacity to do sin. Just like every single person has the capacity to do good. You can, and you can. So if we believe in that, that means that if you look at someone who is wicked, if you think this person will never be good, then you've deceived yourself.
Yes.
And if you look at someone who is a good person, you say, oh, this person can never do bad, again, you've deceived yourself. It's not the case. The reality is we just don't know how a person actually is, or the end result, where they'll end up being. We can only try on a day-to-day basis and get there. It's like building. You've been given a template to build a building. You've been given the tools, the materials, and you try your best. You hope that the building will turn out the way it turns out. But anyone who's built anything before, you will know that changes happen along the way. Materials get run out. You have to compromise. You have to change. You have to do this. You have to do that. So you have a vision of how it should be, but no one knows for definite how it actually will end up. Things may go wrong. Even like, for example, the James Webb telescope. I mean, it's a bit peaky, but there's a telescope that was launched into space this the other day, and it was something like $10 billion has been spent just making and putting this thing into space. And even then, they were hoping that it works.
Wow, 10 billion on the hope.
So the thing is, it was not only the amount they spent; it was the time. It was first perceived and put into place in the 90s, something like that. So they've been making it for like almost 2 decades. 2 decades of planning, getting the resources, even fashioning and making the tools to make the thing. And some tools to make it had to be even made. Planning, trial runs, this, that, and the other, all this stuff just to try and see if it gets the way it gets, and to hope it works out the way it works. Because if it doesn't work, the whole thing's finished. My point is, we can only try. So all we can do is just try. But we have to recognize that is an ongoing thing. There's never, ever, ever ended. There's never, and this is something that people. This is why people sometimes people wonder why are certain things prohibited so harshly, like alcohol.
Yes.
It reflects our human nature. Yes, a small glass of wine has blah 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 benefits. Why am I okay saying that? Because Allah said in the Quran, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They ask you about alcohol and gambling. قُلْ, say, فِيهِمَا, in those two, alcohol and gambling, إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ is a big sin. A big sin, إِثْمٌ, not atham, إِثْمٌ, a big sin. وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ, and many benefits to the people. Now, Allah never said many, as in, it never said many benefits. It just said benefits, plural, manafi' linnas. But manafi' at the very least means more than 3 or more than 2, because the minimum plural in Arabic is 3. Manafi' linnas. But Allah says, but this the one sin is greater than the collective benefits. So we don't, as so Muslims, we don't say that that alcohol is 100% bad. Of course, there's good things inside. Same thing with gambling. No one says that gambling is bad. If you win, you get money. Of course, it's good in it. Why not? But the point is, we don't deny there's bad in it, but it reflects human nature. Humans can't manage it. They can't manage to balance the good and the bad.
Gotcha.
And the bad will always overcome the good. Hence, it's bigger, it's greater. You can't just pick out just the one bit of good here and mankind by their nature can't navigate that journey properly. So therefore, just don't even do it in the first place. Same thing with the issue of touching women's hands and interacting with women, that kind of stuff, and all those prohibitions that comes between the genders. Because we know, especially in this society, navigating that path of desires is a minefield.
It's dangerous, yeah.
Some will do it successfully, some will come out the other end fine, but many will get burnt along the way.
Won't.
So that's the thing. We don't say that, oh, just because you're talking to women, you will commit zina. But we definitely say it will happen to some people. That's the issue. This is careful, everyone. We're not saying, when we say don't have all these, have women as your friends and chill out with them and blah blah blah, and you know, some men say, oh, this woman here is my friend and she's my good friend, and like, you're lying to yourself. So, but he might think he can navigate that path. Nothing's ever gonna happen.
Today he's thinking like that, but tomorrow things can change. You know what I'm saying? Today he's stronger, but he gets weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yep. My point is that people think that somehow they are immune to certain sins. And I say it goes both ways. Just like you're not immune to certain good deeds, you're also not immune from certain bad deeds, or any bad deeds, or any good deeds. You know, people might say, oh, I can't. That's why I even say take to my kids and they say, oh, I can't do this. Don't say you can't do something. Only certain things you can't do. As in, I can't, for example, turn my hand inside out. I can't do that because physically it can't happen.
Yeah.
But to say I can't learn a skill, why can't you learn a skill? It's difficult. You may not want to, but you can't say you can't. Anyway, the point is, if you really want to do something, you can do it. And that's why, and that's another reason, by the way, why in Islam we really shouldn't talk about sins, especially in the sense of promotion or just in terms of gossip. That's another one as well. Gossiping about sins. Oh, guess what this guy did? He did this one. He thought that one. This happened here, and blah blah blah. No. All this kind of gossip about sins. Indirectly, this kind of gossip about sins is actually da'wah to the sin. It's actually da'wah to the sin. It's kind of counterintuitive. People might think, wait, how is that the case? How is talking about so and so da'wah to sin? I'll give you one example. It's not an example of sin. It's just an example of human beings, human nature. I was in Medina University, and there's one website called Ahya, back in the day, a long time ago, ahya.org or something like that. And one brother, and I was in my first year, it's like 2001 actually, 2001 or 2002, 2003. Anyway, he said to me, don't go to this website because they speak bad against the brothers and they do this and do that and blah blah blah. I never had heard the website before in my life. So when he said that to me, what do you think I did?
Of course, yeah, you're curious now, innit? Had to have a look.
What did they say about the brothers?
Yeah.
What's really good they say? Why my man had to go and mention it to me? So the thing is, his view of warning against the evil actually was da'wah to the evil. That's why not all the time refuting the evil is necessarily a good thing, especially when someone's not even exposed to it. I mean, do you go to your children and start talking to them about the evils of pornography when they may not have never even heard of it before? So my point is, human beings are curious. Human beings want to know why. I mean, you can even probably think about, I'm not saying this is the case, but Adam alayhi salam, I can only imagine what was going through his mind when prohibited from the one fruit. I mean, all the other fruits was there. Yeah. That one tastes nice, that one tastes nice, that one tastes nice, that one tastes nice. But what's so special about that one? Curiosity. Then Iblis comes with telling you, oh yeah, but if you do this, you have this happen to you, and this happen to you, you gain this knowledge, and you.
Yes.
So now he's thinking, wait, this one don't. None of these do this thing. This one. Well,
That's human nature. That's human nature. Yeah, that's human nature.
It's human nature.
Mm,
But that's what I'm saying. Speaking about these kind of things is very damaging. This is the reason why social media can be, and I guess very is damaging, because basically people give da'wah to things that are not even real. Especially all these women who look a certain way, they dance a certain way, and men who do this and they do this and that, and people think, oh, it's that easy. They're happy. They're this and the other. I'm unhappy. I want to do this. I want to do that. Let me try and emulate and do what they do and get their happiness. I mean, clearly they're happy.
Yes.
They're in this restaurant here. They're taking photos of themselves, and I want to have that life of being, I mean, we all know, everyone knows that it's mostly a lie. That these people are mostly depressed and upset, and it's just for the grammar. They say everyone knows this, but we can't deny the da'wah and the reality of human beings. Human beings just need khutawat, steps to go where they need to go. This is why a Muslim needs to not only stop doing the sin, but cut off the doors that lead to sin. From those doors is not indulging in looking at it, not indulging in listening to it, not indulging in discussing, not indulging in any of that stuff. Even friends who might be engaged in it. For example, I had a friend from before Islam, and it was one of my best friends actually before I became Muslim. And then I became Muslim, and I invited him to Islam, and he didn't accept it. He was a raving atheist. Raving meaning that he was one of the arrogant, proud ones, and very vocal about it. Not just those who were just quiet and agnostic kind of thing, but just like really open about it. Mockery of God, mockery of religions, that kind of attitude. So I had to distance myself from him because his behavior, his attitude, his speech, what he said, it was just unbearable, basically. From a religious perspective, it was unbearable. And he said to me, "Oh, let's link up." He reached out to me about a few years back and he said, "Let's link up." I said, "Nah."
It'll be
what's wrong, man? Why can't we link up? I said,
"Yeah,
so you're on your way, I'm on my way, and that's how it is." Because the thing is, it wasn't that he was evil. It's not that I'm an idiot and I'm a sheep. It's just that he's an old friend.
Yes.
And he's gonna do things and say things, nostalgia. He might think, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
These things will just come into your mind. So Islam says, cut the door.
Yes,
Shut the door.
Yeah.
That's it.
You have to be harsh sometimes. So question is, as you mentioned about, don't get involved in things that may lead you to sin. As you said, don't meet a person who's gonna talk nonsense, maybe mention some bad things that he that he does, or bad language or whatever. Social media.
That's a good one. The language. So just one little point.
Go on.
One of the things that led me to distance myself from him is because about a decade ago, when I think after I graduated, I saw him and we had a link up, and ironically, I noticed that I started to talk a certain way as soon as he came into the room.
Yes, you went
because
back
that's how we
to
used to
the days.
speak.
Yes,
and I shocked myself because I was like, but wait, why did I do that? What's with the Jamaican accent and blah 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 blah? I don't do that normally.
Yeah.
Why as soon as you come to the room, I'm chatting a certain way, and I'm behaving, it made me realize that the human being seeks to be familiar. And these things are subconscious. It wasn't like I just said, when it comes, I'm gonna be. I didn't plan it. It just happened. And when you say the word bad language, that's a classic one. If you've got friends who are often bad mouthing, don't be surprised that you're gonna bad mouth soon. That's literally the.
You're gonna fall into it, basically. I'm saying, you'll fall into it. So that's the case for, and this is the thing when someone does embrace Islam, that move, that shift they have to do away from the environment. If the environment is evil, maybe not in every situation, maybe have a nice loving home and everything is cool, maybe you get what I'm saying, then that's fine. But if they have friends or relatives or whatever that maybe they drink, maybe they cuss, maybe they smoke weed or whatever, then it's upon them to make a move, so they're not
That's
affected.
a classic one as well. Especially addictive, destructive behaviors, like you mentioned, smoking weed is a classic one. I've had many cases of brothers come to Deen, left that life, especially the life of the weed and the drink and whatnot.
Mm.
And then once they see old friends, what do their friends do? They offer them a draw, offer them
Yes.
something, and then they slip. There's actually a whole. There's one guy actually. I think he made a poem on the YouTube channel. Make Hijra.
Okay.
Make
Okay.
Hijra. There was one American guy. He talked about his journey into
Mm.
Islam and how he
Mm.
slipped back and forwards. And that was
Mm.
one of the things he mentioned
Mm.
in his. I think it's a fascinating story. Breakdown of his life. Definitely should go and watch it. He
Yeah.
basically speaks about how he became Muslim and how he slipped back into that old life and what happened when he slipped back in that old life and even went to the borders of Kufr again and
Yeah.
came back. It's an amazing story, but it's really important to understand what I mean. The conclusion he came to is that he needed to distance himself from that life, not just
Yes.
not just say I want to don't want nothing from that. He actually left the Balad, and that's why it's in
Okay.
that whole channel of Hijra.com, because he had to physically make the Hijra away from that life so that life didn't draw him back.
In order to change. Yeah.
And this is why I think that, again, I know almost every week I'm banging on about the topic of Hijra, but Hijra, if you look at it, is not just going to UAE and living it good. Hijra is
Mm.
leaving evil and that which draws you to evil to go to
Mm.
somewhere that is better and draws
Mm.
you to good.
Mm.
That may be physically moving country, but maybe it may be just leaving that group, leaving those people, leaving that society or that little thing. It could even be moving from a majority non-Muslim area to a majority Muslim area
Mm.
within your city in Dar al Kufr. It may even just be attending circles or attending a masjid rather than going to your friend's house. That's also
Yes.
hijrah. So hijrah is moving away from a bad thing, things that call you to bad to things that call you to
Yes.
good.
Mm. 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 Mm.
Even if it's something as simple as I want to go to a place where they call for the salah 5 times a day, so that at
Yeah.
least something is drawing me to the masjid 5 times a day. That's a hijrah.
Mm. Mm.
That could even be going make a hijrah to Whitechapel where they do that then.
Yes. Yeah. You're from South London to East London or wherever. Second
Whatever, yeah.
question: would you say that getting to paradise is hard? Avoiding hellfire is hard. How would you say, like, in the context of, and obviously it's not, we wish we're not perfect, so we're always
Yeah,
going to live in this life as sinners,
yeah.
but in the context of, yeah, getting to paradise is hard, avoiding the hellfire is hard, it's hard work, there's no two ways about it, there's no easy route to paradise and avoid the hell. But people, and how can we put this in context, meaning if you want something good, you have to work for it. Anything that
Yeah.
comes easy, there's no value to it. So it should be in a context that, yeah, if you want to be a believer and submit to Islam, it involves hard work. It's not an
Hmm.
easy route. But if you take the easy route, it's going to be an easy route to the hellfire. Do you understand? So how can we put this in context for the viewers?
So the uh, best answer to that is the hadith, where Allah said to the angel Jibreel, "Go look at paradise and what I have prepared for my servants." So Jibreel will go and look and then come back and he'll be asked, "What did you find?" And he says, I find that this paradise is that no believer who hears of this place would ever avoid it. As in, just by hearing of what's from a promise inside this paradise, will definitely be a person who works towards paradise and gets there. And then Allah will say to him, "Now I have placed upon paradise hardship, sacrifice, difficulty. I'm now going to look at paradise." He went back, looked at paradise, came back, and he said, "Verily, I for no one will enter it, based on the level of hardship that was required to get there." And then he'll be told to go and look at hellfire and what I had promised for those who disbelieve. And Jibreel will go back and look, and then come back and said, "Verily, I fear that I not fear, I feel that no one who hears this will ever enter this." I mean, who would hear of hellfire and then go into and do actions that will lead one day. This doesn't make sense. And then Allah says to him, now I have placed over this hellfire desires and such. And I'm gonna look at it again. And Jibreel will go and look and come back and say, verily I feel no one will escape it. So definitely the path to paradise is difficult. And the path to hellfire is easy. Why is it easy? Hellfire, all you have to do is what you want to do. That's the easiest thing you can say. Just follow your desires, whatever just occurs in your mind, just do it. Just follow your desires, follow what you want to do, follow what you want to say. Just do whatever you want to do, and don't worry, you will get there. You're mute, brother. You're mute.
Yeah, do whatever you want to do, and you'll find yourself somewhere. You'll reach somewhere.
You will get to the hellfire. Just it's the simplest thing ever. Just do what you want to do, and you get to hellfire. That's why when you hear people call to that kind of da'wah, this, we want freedom to do what we want. That is da'wah to Jahannamiyah. That is a da'wah to Jahannam. Those who say we want to live in a country that allows me to do whatever I want and to be free to engage in whatever I want to do. Whatever I want to say, anything I want to do is I want to be free.
Yeah.
Then basically you're saying that's you wanna go to hellfire. That is the da'wah to hellfire. And the da'wah to paradise is the path to paradise is the path of sacrifice, of difficulty, of giving up things that you want, struggle, patience. So if you want the path to paradise, then that's what you expect. So people, that's why it always get funny and people complain, oh, but that so-and-so country is restrictive, can't do what I want. But who said you have to do? Who said you must do what you want? Who said that what you want to do is what you must do? That's the whole point. The whole point of hijrah is to move away from that which draws you to hellfire to that which draws you to paradise. I didn't even ask one brother a question. He made a comment about someplace not being like North Korea. He made a comment about, because he's basically saying that North Korea is repressive and whatever.
Yeah.
And he says no. So I said to him, but if North Korea established Sharia in every form and fashion, everything about Sharia that needs to be done, it was done. It's just that it was North Korea. What would you say about that one? Would you want to raise your kids there then? And he says, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
And it's a good thought experiment. Think about it, because we already have a predetermined idea about North Korea as being some place which is like some
restrictive, like
some prison.
Yes.
But what makes it bad? Is it because they're poor? That's not a good metric. I mean, that's not. Who cares? Islamically speaking, if it's poor or not poor, that's not really what makes it bad. It's bad economically.
Yeah.
That's not bad for Deen. That's not bad for Deen. I mean, the many countries are Muslim countries that are poor but are better than UK by far, because Anyway, so it's not because they're poor. Is it because you can't access the internet? Well, okay, it's not the end of the world. I mean, what did mankind do before the internet? I'm just saying, if you really break it down to what North Korea is so bad for me, if you really want to say it's bad, it's because they suppress Iman and Tawheed and teach Kufr.
Yeah.
As for their restrictive things, it's kind of neither here nor there, Islamically speaking. Does that make sense? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that Islam is a North Korean model. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that at some level, Muslims have to expect or understand that Islam is restrictive.
Yes.
And if just the idea of restriction is bad, then you kind of missed the point. We want restriction. We want rules.
Oh, we need. It's a need.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we may not want it, but we need it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good point. So it's an interesting thought experiment. I'm not suggesting that Islam would end up being like a North Korea. I don't believe that would be the case. But all I'm saying is that if we had a Khalifa or just a Muslim leader who said, literally, guys, we're gonna have the internet, but we're gonna restrict the internet. We're gonna have a filter on internet. So all evil sins, ma'asi, pornography, music is forbidden, and only that which is allowed Islamically to come through like commerce and business and whatnot. But actually, other things are forbidden. And I'm gonna call this the Muawiyah Tucker Gate for some firewall. How many Muslims do you reckon would object to that?
Would object to
Yeah, would object to that
you're
idea.
saying to the restrictions. You're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot.
Why don't the reason why I know that is because I've heard many Muslims mention that about Saudi Arabia, who actually has that gate. There is they call it King Abdulaziz Gate. That's how they call it. I don't want to call it that, but there's a massive internet gate. Yeah, I'm gonna troll people and say in the comments, yeah, but you can get around it with a VPN, whatever. I'm just saying they have a gate that's supposed to prevent un-Islamic things. Some say, yeah, but it prevents other things against government, blah blah. Whatever. It also prevents. I'm just saying it's supposed to prevent vice.
Yes.
And allow in virtue. But Muslims will still have an issue against that. And we shouldn't have an issue against that. Because that should be a good thing, isn't it? Same thing with the hater. We have the Saudi used to have this thing where people go around and will tell people, don't do evil. And they would actually stop you from doing evil if they thought you were doing evil. So if you see a young man with a young girl, it's not his sister, they will say, what's going on here? Is that your wife? Is that your sister? And if it's not, then they're like, try and stop it. How many Muslims are against that? Plenty.
Yes. Has the effects of modernity made us feel like we need to be unrestricted and we need to be free, so to speak? Like on the one side, we know, for example, that being what's the word, disciplined, you could say, working hard, those things what are hard bring quality. Do you get what I'm saying? You want to be, you want to get married to a good woman, you got to be on your game. If you want to be healthy, you got to give up bad food. If you want to achieve, you got to be disciplined.
Yeah.
And that's even to achieve things in this dunya. So it's strange how people still want to have that back door to say, "Oh, let me dip, let me just." Oh, that's what they do on the weekends. You could say that's the weekend, isn't it? In Monday to Friday, everyone's all on their game at work, being professional, etc. And then on the weekend, they let their hair down and do whatever. And then Monday, they come back to being so-called professional.
I mean, I would say generally, especially in the UK, because this is what we know. But I would say that I'm talking about the Muslims here, and I guess this comes from the behavior of the non-Muslims, is that we're unruly. That's just what it is, man. We're unruly. We find it difficult to respect authority. Really, we do. I mean, if you actually look at a lot of things on social media and about, I mean, people speaking bad and shouting and screaming at the police, for example. It's shocking if you think about it, considering that it's supposed to be law enforcers and it's supposed to be people who can arrest you, can shove you to the ground and to put into the back of their car and take you into prison. But yet, we have people shouting at them, telling them who you're looking at, that kind of stuff. I'm like, they're unruly. So when it comes to listening to actual, I mean, even look at the issue of COVID, which is another funny one. So look at the issue of COVID. Look at the response of people in West to taking a jab, and the response of the Muslims in the Muslim countries taking a jab. To be honest, for Muslims who I know who are living there, they're like, everyone just took it, man.
Yeah, they had no choice in it. Some people, they had no choice. They said, all right, then, if it's to do with...
But the thing is, the government said it, they just did it. I'm saying the mindset. The issue was, they want us unruly as we are. And you find the same kind of behavior with Muslims when they go abroad. We're just unruly people. We find it hard to listen to rules. I myself agree. I'm like that. I find it hard to submit to rules if you don't, especially if you don't agree to it. Like, but why? You know, we love to question and object, and in some cases, those questions and objections are valid. But the point here is, I'm just talking about the overall theme is that Islam is Islam, submission and obedience to Allah. If you if you find difficult in and of yourself to be obedient to someone else over you in authority, if he was a human being, you're gonna struggle to be obedient to Allah. That's why, if you look at the hadith, it says the one whoever's not thankful to the people is not thankful to Allah. Why? If you can't show gratitude to someone in front of your face doing good to you, how can you show gratitude for the one you've never seen?
Gotcha.
Same way, if you find it difficult to follow authority, someone who's above you in authority, how do you expect to obey Allah's command? And this goes at all levels. Let's start at the top. If you can't obey the leader, how can you expect to obey Allah? Let's go down a level. If you can't obey your parents, how can you expect to obey Allah? Let's go down a level. If you can't obey your husband, how can you expect to obey Allah? Let's go down some further. If you can't obey, I've done the parents, man. I'm got children. If your child finds it difficult to obey his own parents, but he says, I'm a good Muslim, how could you not obey the one right above you and expect to be obedient to the one way above you?
I get you, yeah.
From basically the point is back to the hadith of Allah told Jibreel that Jannah is placed with difficulty and hardship and sacrifice. This is where it is at. If you want to get to Jannah, it requires you to give up what you want to do.
Yes.
And do what other people want to do. That's literally what it is. Give up what you want to do and do what others want you to do. And that's why you see hellfire is the opposite. Our hellfire is do what you want to do. Desires. Follow what you want to do. Go on.
But I'm saying in that context, if we just think that those things that I'm giving up, I of my desires, is beneficial for me in this life, whether it be the drinking, the gambling, fornication, all the things that Allah's telling us or ordering us to give up are beneficial for us in this life anyway, let alone the hereafter. I think it's that.
See, that's the thing. That context, it can work, but I'm not convinced of it. Meaning, it reminds me of those videos that talk about the benefits of intermittent fasting. And Muslims talk about this kind of stuff, the benefit of the health benefits of intermittent fasting. And I kind of think that's a bit of it's an odd da'wah. It's an odd da'wah because that potentially could wreck your intentions of fasting.
Yes.
We should be fasting because we want to obey Allah. But if you're fasting for health reasons, that's a different intention altogether.
Yes. Can you get both? Can you get both rewards? Like you're saying, well, I'm fasting to keep fit, but I'll get the reward from Allah as well.
No, definitely. You can definitely achieve both goals. But what is your intention? If you look in the mirror and you see yourself looking a bit overweight, and you decide you're gonna start fasting for Allah's sake, are you lying to yourself, brother? Come on, are you lying to yourself? Are you lying to yourself? You just looked in the mirror, you decide you need to lose weight, so you decide I'm gonna fast for Allah's sake. I mean, just look at the situation.
Yes. Yeah, got you.
It doesn't mean you don't fast. It means don't lie to yourself. That's a lie. You've lied to yourself. You're not really fasting for Allah's sake. You're fasting to lose weight. Because the circumstance that led you to decide to do fasting was because you were fat or overweight. Or maybe you weren't overweight, but you thought you were overweight, because that can happen as well. People think they're fat, but they're not. They're actually skinny. So I'm saying is that intention of doing something for Allah's sake requires you to do it for Allah's sake. And anytime you mix other intentions, that takes away from your reward. Fact. If you think you need to stretch more in the mornings and the evenings, and you need to do this and you need to do that, and this is a good stretch, and you say to yourself, you know what, doing ruku' and sujood is a good exercise.
Yes,
bro. Those kind of thoughts. I don't think it's. I know people say it can encourage them to do the salah, but the thing is, what I feel is happening. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying nullify your deeds, but I'm saying what I feel is happening is that you're focusing on the action happening rather than what the action should do for you.
Not the obedience.
It's not the obedience. It's supposed to uplift you and increase you in iman through submission. And this is what I'm saying, that a person needs to focus on the submission part of the ibadah. If worship of Allah requires submission, to submit to Allah's will, to decide to do what He wants in opposition to what you want. You want to sleep in the morning. You want to get a good night's sleep, rest up. You don't start work until 9 o'clock. Fajr ends up 6:33. Why should I have to get up so early? Let me just stay in bed, innit? I had a late night. I've worked so hard this week. Let me just stay in. But you've given up that desire, what you want to do what Allah told you to do. That's pure ibadah. You're at work. You're at the desk. You're typing away. The adhan is now gone. It's calling you to shut down the computer and walk to the masjid. So you have a decision. Should I continue doing work because that's what I want to do? Or pause, get up and go and pray because that's what Allah wants you to do. That's pure ibadah. Whereas saying, being at the desk, the adhan's gone, and you say to yourself, you know what? I need to stretch my legs. I've been sitting down here for too long. Let me go to the masjid. It's not nullified you're going to the masjid, but now you've shared that ibadah with something else. You want to walk, you want to stretch your legs, you want to break from your thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that as a Muslim, we need to focus on what ibadah actually is, and that is sacrifice. Worship is sacrifice. Putting aside what you want to do for what Allah wants to do. And let's just, we're almost time now. Let's conclude with the meaning of Islam. So my AirPods is one of the batteries aside. الاستسلام لله بالتوحيد والانقياد له بالطاعة والبراءة من الشرك وأهله. So Islam is to submit to Allah with monotheism. So you worship Allah alone and nothing else. And we submit to Him in obedience. That's the key word in Al-Islam. The word.
Your sound is gone. Sound. I think yours. That's it. Yeah, but it's very, very croaky. Very.
Yeah, because I've changed the mic onto.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Sounds different,
so,
but yeah, it's fine.
And that's why. And I'm guessing. Sorry, not guessing. I'm speculating here. I'm speculating that there's a connection between the hadith about the majority of the hellfire being women and this issue we're talking about right here. Because if a person, and I mean, he mentions that in the actual hadith where he talks about the wisdom for this one, he mentioned the issue of when a husband has done something wrong, she says, never done anything for me. So if you can't have gratitude to a husband, how can you have gratitude to Allah? Same thing again. If you can't show that to someone next to you, I can show that to someone way above you. And likewise, we extend that thought. If you have difficulty being obedient to your husband, he says do this, do that, and you have difficulty in obeying your husband and what he says to do, how do you find it easy to obey Allah? Does it make sense? Because Allah said to be obedient to your husband. Allah said you to be obedient to your husband. If you can't follow that rule to your husband, how do you expect to follow all the other rules? It's the same kind of issue. Back to the point is about to be simple, because the whole discussion is about good deeds and how a believer's good deeds are. Good deeds comes down to that single word of submission and obedience. Obedience. And there's even a hadith where the best of Muslim is like a camel. Wherever it is led, it goes. Where Islam tells you to go, you go as well. It's all about sacrifice and doing what Islam says to do, not what you want to do. And that's basically what it is, really. And I think if a Muslim really thinks about it themselves, when they find Islam the most challenging, that's when it's most telling about your state. Because why is it really a challenge? The challenge is, can you forego what you want to do what someone else wants? It's not really a challenge when what you want is in line with Islam. Islam says do this and you want to do that anyway. That's easy. The challenge is when Islam says do this and you want to do this.
I feel
go your own way or redirect yourself in line.
Yeah, there's another I think it's a big thing is because whenever if you go on a dawah table, people always speak about, well, I want to be Muslim, but not yet because I've got to, fix up this. I got to leave this. I got to change my life. I got to become perfect Muslim, perfect person before I become Muslim. This is where I think the intention comes in. You know that hadith about the one who killed 99 people, and
Yeah.
he was told to leave this land and go, as you said, make hijrah or move to another land. The people there are righteous and they
Yeah.
will help you. So his intention was to seek forgiveness. His intention was to change. He didn't even reach that
Mhm.
land, and Allah forgave him
Yeah.
because he was seeking. So the concept of one, yes, you're a sinful person. You will be taken account for your actions. Maybe you're alcoholic. Maybe you commit zina, whatever. But your intention, not say your intention alone, because he didn't act. He did the action of going somewhere. Allah may forgive your sins, and you shouldn't be overwhelmed by your sin. Do you get what I'm saying? If you're going
Yeah.
to submit, you want to submit, that's enough. Because there's also another notion about the prostitute. I think she must have gave some water to a dog or to a cat, and she was forgiven. Her sins were forgiven. I think this was time with Bani Israel or something like that. So I think it's
Yeah.
important just to conceptualize that your intention is very, very important, but also you've got to have actions as well, and don't let your sins stop you from submitting. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So basically, it brings us back to what we said at the very beginning: is that it's a balancing act. Well, not a balancing act. It's a ongoing struggle.
Yes, yes,
A
yes, yes.
struggle against our own selves.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we shouldn't give up hope that just because I've done a sin it's all over. It's to be expected. That's the best way to put it. If you commit a sin, it's to be expected.
Yeah.
But it's
So,
also required.
uh-huh.
Go on.
So I'm gonna cut you. How can we understand hypocrisy? Because someone might say, "Oh, I'm a hypocrite. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a this. I'm a that. How can I turn to God? I'm a hypocrite." Do you get what I'm saying? How
Yeah.
do you also understand that concept as well? Because we might think, "Oh, I can't become religious. I'll be a hypocrite if I carry on this sin." But still, the most important thing, as you said, is to submit and then work on that and build on that.
If hypocrisy, in their view, means that you believe something is wrong, yet you still do it, if that's their definition of hypocrisy, then we are all hypocrites by definition. Because every Muslim does a sin believing that it's wrong.
Wrong. Yeah.
So that shouldn't be something that, oh, I'm a hypocrite. Well, we're all hypocrites based on that definition. Whereas a hypocrite, from what I understand, outside of their context, will be like a person who, well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's not the best way to look at it. I think it's a different mindset in how to look at things. For example, Islamically speaking, let me give you an example. If you're doing a sin, yeah, this is the context. If you're doing a sin like you're drinking alcohol, and let me give you a more realistic example. You're drinking alcohol, but you tell your kids not to drink alcohol. So your kid will look at you and say, "You're a hypocrite. How are you telling me not to drink alcohol, but you are drinking alcohol?" Now that argument, how are you telling me, but you're doing it? That actually is a false argument. It's an argument to try and suggest, well, you can't tell me this because you're doing it. And Islamically, I would say, no, he can tell you that. He can still tell you that.
Yeah.
Why can't he tell you that something's wrong? Yeah, he does it. If anything, he has more right to tell you that.
Because he knows it's wrong.
Exactly why it's wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's one of those false arguments. How can you tell me when you do it? It's irrelevant if I do it. The question is it still wrong? Yes. So therefore, listen to me. Now, who does it harm? It harms me, no doubt, because if I tell you and I do it, then obviously I'm not taking my own advice. So that only harms me. It doesn't harm you, the listener. So that's what I'm saying. It's a false argument. It's an argument. It's a reverse advice. You could say it works as a reverse advice, as in you're drinking alcohol. You're telling me not to drink alcohol. So great. Jazakallah khair for that advice. Brother, you should also take the advice as well, by the way. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to stop drinking alcohol because you made a good point. But brother, you should also consider doing the same. That's the correct response. The
Yes.
wrong response would be, why should I stop because of your advice and you were doing it as well? That's false.
Yeah,
That's nonsense. That makes no sense. And it's a false
Yes.
argument. But
Mm.
back to the point, your question wasn't that. Your question was someone feels that they're hypocrite. They
Mm.
feels that how can I try and I mean, even I think there's a bit of devil's deception here.
Mm.
The devil's telling you, don't advise people because you do the sin as well.
Mm.
And if you do advise people while you still do the sin, then you're a hypocrite.
Mm.
That's the devil's advice to you in your head.
Mm.
And it's a deception. It's a lie.
Mm.
What he wants you to do is to continue your sin. If he was genuine, if the devil was genuine, he'll say to you, advise him, tell him it's wrong,
Mm.
and also you stop as well because you know it's wrong.
Mm.
What the devil's telling you instead, though, is don't advise him because if you do advise him, you're going to recognize even more how wrong you are. And that's the reality of it, by the way. Whenever a person advises others not to do a sin, it hurts them internally. They might not say it, they might not even show it, but whenever they say it to other people, it burns them. And that
Mm.
burning is why you should advise someone. Every time you advise someone not to do something that you know is wrong and you do,
Mm.
in and of that advice itself, it will burn you. And
Yeah.
hopefully that burning will make you stop.
Mm.
It will make
Mm.
it, hopefully make you stop. It might not. Hopefully at some point that burning in yourself will make you stop as well. But Shaitan will tell you, don't advise him because he knows every time you advise someone not to do something and you do it,
It burns
it will
you,
burn
yeah.
you every single
You feel
moment.
that's guilt.
he
That's the
doesn't
guilt.
want to burn you. He wants you to continue.
Mm-mm. I'm saying that's the guilt you feel. That's the guilt.
Yeah,
You feel
so the
guilty now.
guilt
Yeah.
is bring you back. Exactly, the guilt will bring you back. So that hopefully will clarify to people about the issue of hypocrisy. The hypocrite thing, if the definition of hypocrisy is that you do the sin, yet you advise others of it, or you tell others not to do it, then we're all hypocrites because every Muslim on planet Earth says don't do sin, yet we all do sin. So on that definition, we're all hypocrites. But it's not. It's a false description. It doesn't mean anything because we're all, by that definition, hypocrites. Or the other definition is that how can you tell me X, Y, Z when you do it yourself? No, of course I can tell you that because it's not my actions doesn't make it right or wrong. What makes it right or wrong is what Allah says and what His Messenger says. That's what makes it right or wrong. I'm just telling you what they said. You take their advice. Don't look at my actions. It's irrelevant. That's why as a Muslim, one of the peaks of humbleness, this is very important, everyone. One of the peaks of humbleness is to take advice, valid advice, from whoever it comes from. Someone above you, equal to you, or below you. It could be a child, it could be a sinner, it could be a drug addict. It could be a guy in the alleyway shooting up on crack and tells you, brother, how you walking with this woman? She's not your mahram. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a guy on the street leaning up on crack, telling you not to do sin?
Yeah. You're a Muslim, aren't you? You shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. You can't be saying, you hypocrite, how can you tell me when you're on crack? No, you'd be like, what you should say is, La ilaha illallah subhanahu. Allah has sent this person. Even this person knows that I'm sinful. And you should cry. You should fall down and collapse that you're so sinner, such a sinful person that even a crack addict sees how sinful you are. So it's about changing mindset and perception. But yeah, I think that's a good way to end that one. End that one on, if a crack addict tells you you're sinful, take the advice.
That's a serious sin, isn't it? It must be in a serious situation.
That's a serious one, isn't it?
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Sheikh, Jazakallah khair for your time. I know you're a very, very busy man, but inshallah we'll hook up again next week, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah hayakum Allah.
Barakallahu fikum, brother. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam.